All right, it is Derby week, Freo v West Coast, and it would be a little poor by us just showing West Coast side of the story. So I thought, why not get one of the greatest of all time to ever do it for Fremantle in Michael Barlow on the show? G'day, Mick.
Scully, Dan. No, thanks for the intro. The greatest of all time to do it for Freo. I made the team of 25 in 25 years.
Yes.
And now that Andrew Brayshaw has burst onto the scene, Caleb Sarong, a few others have taken my spot, so I've drifted out of that side pretty quickly. So maybe the top 40. I'm still in the 40-man squad potentially.
Yeah, well, I didn't say greatest. I said one of the greatest.
You can wait for the 50-year anniversary team where they do the top 50. You can sneak into that.
Now,
I'm hoping, guys, that there's a few more to come through the corridors down there at the Coburn base in the next 25 years, and hopefully a bit of team success wouldn't go astray either.
Fremantle fans will want to hear the full Michael Barlow episode. Now, we will say we're not going to sit down fully with Mick. He's the coach of the Werribee team in the VFL. Are they Werribee Tigers? Am I making that up?
No, we are the Werribee Tigers, and I'm here at the office, and you guys said my background was boring and bland, so I went and found some greenery, and I've perched it up. I'm at the bar. It's not open yet. It's quite early in the morning, so all good to go, guys. Yeah, a bit of freelance media, and life is good.
So good. We're going to keep the schedule. Just going to give him a bit of a 15-minute chat on the Derby, and then we're going to do a full round with him, Dan. You happy with that?
Another time, yes, please.
I know Charlie will be very excited. Now, Mick, let's get right into the Derby side of things. Do you remember your first Derby? Do you remember playing in your first one?
I do. I think it was game 6. And if we fast forward 4 quarters, I walked off with the Ross Glendinning medal as well around the neck, Scully. So it didn't. It was. I felt a lot more comfortable at the end of the 4 quarters than I did at the start because I ran out. And interested to hear your take of your first Derby. But mine was an away Derby. So the away Derby, it's a bit daunting. You run out in the white kit. Everything's a bit different. None of your sponsored banners are on the fence line or anything. The PA system was playing SGIO, Go Eagles Go.
Eagles Go. SGIO, Go Eagles Go.
To this day, I was 21 years old or 22 years old, and that was the scaredest I've ever felt in my life. I felt like this cauldron of this insurance company was going to just swallow me whole and pitch me out of the Subiaco Oval, but composed myself, got into the game. I think we won quite comfortably in the end, but that was my overwhelming memory of my first Derby. The running out and the daunting feeling, seeing Nick Nat in the flesh for the first time. He was only a young man. He would have only been 19 or 20, but he was going through the roof or right up to the ceiling. And Dean Cox was an imposing figure, and daunting first experience, and then grew into them after that.
Can't have been that daunting. You won the best on ground medal.
I felt like I was pretty lucky to get that, to be honest, Scully. I don't think I had a terrific game, but I was I think I was the flavour of the month in the first month and a half of my footy career. So I think I might have pinched that one off some others that were a bit more handy than me on the day.
There mustn't be many people that have done that first Derby, and that would be an interesting stat. Charlie?
Yeah, we're going to have to get Charlie. I hope you're writing those down, Charlie.
Who was your...
Well, there's definitely one whoever played in the first Derby and got the first medal.
Yeah, of course.
Very good. Very good. Okay, Mick.
Okay, so you talked about facing up against Nick Nat, Dean Cox was imposing. Who was the one that you just hated seeing the most? Because obviously a pretty gnarly rivalry between the two clubs. Who's the face you just wanted to,
smash?
Yeah, really get in there and muzzle. I'm a lover, not a fighter, but I do a lot of work with him nowadays. But Andrew Embley, he was a prick. He was a fair dinkum, and still is, to be fair. I'd heard all the stories, that his nickname was Whack and that he was loose as a goose. He genuinely hated Freo, and I think he genuinely hated whoever he played against. And I remember one Derby from memory again. I think we were going pretty well, and we were up late in the game, and it was late in the game, and the emotion was getting the better of Andrew, and he was late to a contest. And he might have clipped Clancy Pearce behind the play, and I wasn't too far away from it. And it was a dirty act. He
might have, and it was a dirty act.
Yeah, it was below surface level what he just did to poor old Clancy Pearce, who's now gone into the Australian Federal Police Force, I reckon. Clancy Pearce. So what's your back, Embers? What's your back? That was one person that couldn't couldn't really cop. I love Mark LaCroix. I love everything he does. Love the way he played. A handsome man. I always think he had a bit of a chip on his shoulder and despised Freo. And now he works for Freo.
Yeah.
Here's one for you. I'll never forget this. When you guys won the Premiership 2018.
Yeah.
2018, I'll tell you this. I'm sorry to jump in, but I used to live with your last guest, Ryan Davis, on the Gold Coast. And Gold Coast never really played in September, so we were out and about and doing some stuff and enjoying ourselves. I think we were celebrating the 2018 Premiership like you guys would have been, but we were in the Gold Coast. And we thought we'd FaceTime you from memory. I'm not sure if you can recall this, but...
I don't.
Oh, no.
Davis FaceTimed you, and we were at the Star Casino on the Gold Coast in Broadbeach. And I threw me melon in there. I was half inebriated, so I threw me melon in there to say good day to you. And you'd pass the phone on to someone. And I just heard someone say, "Oh, it's Mick Barlow." And Mark looked right in the background and said, "Oh, he's a dickhead." I guarantee you that happened. So.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that is good. So I did not remember that. That is a very good memory.
I was tail between the legs type, so I thought I was relatively liked.
How did you know? Look at that. Look, oh, he's a dickhead. Never met him. Oh, he's a dickhead. Oh, that's great. So, okay, so let's move on to your greatest Derby memory. Was it you won 3 Ross Glendinning Allen medals, didn't you?
Yeah, before Fremantle were acknowledged in the game, I'd won 3 Ross Glendinning medals, and then they thought we better at least appreciate some of the Fremantle history and include a name that is apparent with the Fremantle Dockers, which is Ben Allen, the inaugural captain. So they were great memories. But at the same time, one of the poorest derbies probably the second poorest derby I played, because I got subbed out in a derby once. Oh boy. Dave Ellis is he remembers that fondly, to be fair. Yeah, to him, he played quite well, and I played very poorly.
Yes.
But there was a derby, I reckon it was 2015, the first derby, and we were airborne. We were flying. We were 2-0, and then played a derby round 3, and I think we were 10 goals to zip up in the first
100%,
quarter, if
100%,
you remember that one.
That's 100% right.
And I thought, these guys suck. And you guys ended up going on to the grand final that year and doing a similar job on us in the second derby for that year. But I'll never forget the silence of the crowd, that away derby feeling where you've nullified the SGIO chant, and you're feeling good about yourself. I didn't get much of a kick on the day, but it was a feeling that, like, well, we are airborne here and not much can go wrong. So that was a fairly memorable experience.
Do you know that one of those medals, I'm pretty sure we were matched up on each other. I have a feeling. So we had someone I think Barlow was on the podcast a few weeks back, and my greatest ever derby was 22 touches. It was close to the most touches I've ever had in a game. I kicked 2 or 3 goals, had 9 hit outs. Basically, I was coming off a forward flank to play third man up in the ruck against Sandy. And I think you were my opposition. And so, look, I've had a great game. We've lost the game. Well, I didn't see you all game, and I'm pretty sure you were opposed to me, and you've won the Roscoe. You've kicked 3 the other way and had 40.
Was it the old high half forward go up and into the stoppage?
Yeah.
And that we meet each other and we go
yeah, because I was meant to be sort of playing, you and my, you got to watch Barlow in the stoppage, but, then you got to go up third man up against Sandy. So I forgot about the Barlow part and just pretty much went up in the ruck, tapped it down to you. You got the clearance and went forward.
Well, I think I do recall, and Ross was a tough, hard task master, Ross Lyon. And I think I did win a Ross Glendinning one day, and I did get a few sprays off him. And so they were quite frequent. But from memory, again, I think I got one after. Well, I'm very sure I got one after a derby when I won the medal. For that exact point, it was. And I'll try and put on his voice as best I can here, but the game finishes and we're out in the ground, and Ross is doing his bottle out to the ground, and he's like, "Mick, come over here." And I'm like, going pretty well here, but he doesn't look happy. And they're probably up there going, and the Ross Glendinning medalist is, and I'm still in this shooting match with Ross. He goes, "What did I tell you? They're going to go third man up. That's your one job at stoppage. And here's Schofield, just go and whack." So it was you couldn't win, to be honest. Sometimes with Ross, and I've got a few more stories about that.
We're going to save them.
We can save that. We can save them for the full length.
How's that? You win the best on ground medal, the team wins, and you haven't done a good enough job. Jeez,
you got to play your role. How is the Derby different to other games you played? Is there, obviously they're sort of marked on your calendars. They're big games, but are you prepping any different? Are you getting angrier than usual?
Not so much, Dan. I was early days, yes. I think when you're kind of thrown into the cut and thrust of an AFL career, and like Will coming over from Victoria and playing in WA, where it's a two-team town, and you're bigger than you probably should be because you're in a two-team town. So people recognise you when realistically we should be pushed to the side a little bit for some of these other superstars in the competition. The difference I found was there were some opportunities, Scully, and I'm sure you cashed in on these as well on like the Friday afternoons to pop in and do a quick.
Oh, if the ATO is listening, certainly not. No, I've never seen one of those in my life.
Yeah, I think this was over 7 years ago. So the ATO, from my understanding, can't hunt you down after the 7 year cooling period.
You sound like an expert. You sound like you know what you're talking about.
Yes, yeah. So there's that little bit of difference in the build up in terms of this hysteria. I always used to like getting the West Australian newspaper on the Sunday or the Saturday or whatever the day of the game was, and just checking where I ranked in the 1 to 44. The most important to a game. I think I was always in that sweet spot of about 8 to 14. Just not the top echelon, not down the bottom with the likes of
go on
Schofield.
Jay Van Barlow and all my really good mates. Lee Spur.
Spurry. I work with him at 6PR. I tell him all the time he's a battler.
I got a missed call off him just before, and funnily enough, it's Derby week. That's why we're doing this, and guarantee you, he's got a couple of checks that might be waiting for us on the way over if we can get there this weekend.
You're going to fly in, fly out before the game on the weekend, Mick?
I haven't had the luxury of getting back, and as you know, I love WA to death, and have fair intention of sometime down the track, maybe reconnecting and getting back, because it is the best place, in my opinion, in the world. And due to COVID, it's been like this. It's been hard to haven't been able to get in. So if the opportunity is afforded to someone else to pay for me to get over, Will and Dan, then I will come.
Why are you asking us? Yeah. You're right. You're on the wrong spot here, mate. We get paid in whiskey here by Whippersnapper, mate. If you can trade that over with Mark McGowan to get that border up, we will do it. We can send a case down to you. Now, before we let you leave, last one. Was it more physical? My experience with derbies, you asked what my first memory was. My first memory of a derby, I started on a back flank and the ball went up and the contest was in front of me, and I really remember, I remember playing in that game and it being more physical, especially early. I know you weren't, like you said, you're a lover, not a hater. You weren't really a niggler. You just tried to get the ball and run around and stay away from people and get as many touches as you could. But
just get medals.
Was there physicality or fights or more angst between teams that you can remember?
There was, especially early in games, wasn't there? There was definitely, because you knew these guys more. You knew this opponent better than playing Richmond or Essendon interstate. Like you always come up against teams and you're like, well, they surprise you because you've never really met. But like I said, two-team town, you hear about Luke Shuey all the time, Matt Prittis all the time, Mark Lacroix, who thinks I'm a dickhead all the time. You hear about Quinton Lynch, who takes his glove off and throws it over, and Quinton's a big man with big muscles and you don't want to get in his way type of thing. You hear all that, and then when you do, especially, as I said, early in your career, when it's that first one, in particular, an away derby, players feed off the energy of a crowd. So I'll always remember away derbies, in particular early. It did feel like you were playing against 19 because of the energy of the crowd. So they were different. But then I think, Scott, you'd probably agree that once games get up and going, it's like a boxing match. When you watch big boxers fight, they become so exhausted and so in tune, it becomes methodical and tactical, and the other side of a football game comes out. I have got one quick story about my mum who came over. Mum and Dad came over on the train. Oh, not on the train. That would have been a fair trip. I came over on the plane, I flew in on the plane, away derby, watched the derby, jumped on the train. I think they were staying in East Perth or something at the time for the weekend. And Mum had a Freo scarf or something on and jumped on the train. We got pumped.
Yes.
I can't remember which one. It might have been the one where somehow Matt Rosa had 40-plus possessions.
Somehow is a very good, somehow.
Every time I looked up, Matt Rosa had the ball. And Ross Lyon after the game was like, Matt Rosa, you let him beat you. Anyway, we move on. G'day to former teammate Matt Rosa. So Mum jumped on the train and it was a pro-West Coast train. And the venom coming in her direction for wearing a Freo scarf was quite intense.
Venom.
And Mum's no longer with us. Some fond memories of Mum, and this was one of her greatest traits, was her ability, not to be backwards in coming forwards. So she was absolutely, I think, matching fire with the 90% majority of West Coast fans on that train on the way back to a pub in East Perth.
Oh, that's unreal. Mum and Barlow just giving it back on the train. That's a great memory. Well done, mate. Love that a lot, actually. Let's finish on this then. Who wins this week? West Coast, Freo, both teams. Oh, look, both teams as much shambles as each other, I reckon. The game on the weekend for Freo was poor. I was there. And West Coast, well, I'm surprised you didn't actually get a call up, Mick. I thought maybe some past AFL experience, you might have got a game last week.
Mark LaCroix must have been on the selection committee somehow still and just said, let's
dickhead.
It's how are you meant to read or do some prep in terms of who's going to win this one. I think even though West Coast have gone 0-2, they can't be in any worse a shape as they have gone into the year. I'm sensing Adam Simpson would be sitting there really proud of the effort round one against Gold Coast and equally with the waffle substitutes on the weekend, putting up the fight they did. So it's going to be a new look side this week. Early forecast would be 12 inclusions into the best 18, or the best 22. Whereas Freo, you don't want to play devil's advocate, but that situation is more likely to come to Freo at some stage with the circumstance in WA. Hopefully it doesn't, and they can protect themselves from mass outages in terms of health and safety protocols. But without understanding in terms of who's going to play this week, if you had both sides' best makeup of side that's fit and available with COVID pushed to the side, I'd be really confident that Freo would be a 2 or 3 goal favourite. However, we can't go into these games with any confidence, in particular when Freo were essentially as full strength as they could be. Sean Darcy goes down, he's in trouble. That really does bring it back to a line ball. And I'll just let my heart do the talking for now, being a Monday, that Fremantle win by 6 points, and Andy Brayshaw will be the difference and win the best on ground medal.
Oh, good. You've read my mind. I wanted the Glendenning medalist as well. We've got a little partnership here with Blue Bet, Mick, and we put our first multi-bet of the week, of the season on last week, and we won. It got up.
Huge. I saw that on the your Instagram feed was going bananas. So you're bathing in your own bathwater right now.
Absolutely. So we may be entering old Andy back into it because he got us our 30 plus. He had it at half time pretty much, Andy. Very good. Mick, going to let you go, mate. Know you're a busy man. Thank you for your time. We're going to get you on for a full episode because I know you've got a lot more to tell about your journey getting picked up as a mature age recruit here to Fremantle, back to Gold Coast.
I want to hear what you did to Mark LaCroix.
Mark LaCroix, we'll have him on. You're a dickhead.
Someone's got to ask Mark LaCroix what I did.
All right, we'll get Lecker on and then you, and then we'll do a split one. Thank you very much, mate.
Good on you guys. Good stuff.